13-year-old girl was dropped off at Radio City Music Hall by a friend as she wanted to attend the MTV Video Music Awards back in 2000, according to the lawsuit.
The day will come when we will name names other than Sean Combs, and there's a lot of names. It's a long list already.
All of this was uncovered during that raid on Diddy's Miami compound back in 2024.
A new court leak is reportedly circulating online and gaining a lot of attention. Allegedly, the documents mention Jay-Z being linked to Diddy's so-called events. The initial accusations were made against him.
It is a new hour here on Live Now from Fox, and we do have some breaking news that we want to bring to you. It was being reported by TMZ and now Fox News. We are learning that Jay-Z is accused of a 13-year-old girl. That is new in the Diddy lawsuit, and the new allegations are just coming out this evening. Jay-Z is being accused of a minor along with Diddy at a MTV VMAs after party back in 2000, according to documents obtained by Fox News Digital tonight. The lawsuit, which was initially filed back in October, was refiled tonight in New York by an anonymous accuser claiming Jay-Z, whose full name is Sean Carter, while Combs and Celebrity B watched. So that other celebrity was not named. Initially, the lawsuit stated Combs raped a minor while Celebrity A and Celebrity B watched. Carter was named as Celebrity A in the refiled lawsuit. Representatives for Jay-Z did not immediately respond to Fox News' digital request for comment. Combs and Carter allegedly, quote, took turns assaulting the minor, according to the lawsuit. Many others were present at the after party, but did nothing to stop the assault, it alleges. The 13-year-old girl was dropped off at Radio City Music Hall by a friend as she wanted to attend the MTV Video Music Awards back in 2000, according to the lawsuit. In an attempt to gain entry to the venue, she began approaching limousine drivers waiting outside the celebrity-filled event. One of the limousine drivers she spoke to claimed to work for Diddy, the lawsuit read. He told her that Combs liked younger girls and said that, quote, she fit what Diddy was looking for, not allowing her into the awards, but inviting her to an after party. The 13-year-old, quote, recognized many celebrities upon arrival at the party and was required to sign a non-disclosure agreement. However, she was not given a copy. Combs, who would have been 30 years old at the time, then allegedly attempted to force the girl to perform oral sex on him. He stopped after she hit him in the neck, according to the lawsuit here. So now Jay-Z being accused in this now 24 years ago of a 13-year-old alongside Diddy at an after party here. So these are the newest allegations rocking the music world this evening, and we wanted to bring that to your attention all right here on Live Now from Fox. Of course, we will continue to follow this major story as the Diddy saga continues, and now more celebrities getting caught up in it here. These new allegations rocking Hollywood and the music industry as we speak right now.
Now, nothing is proven yet, but people are talking because this kind of stuff doesn't just come out of nowhere. People believe that both of them are similar people.
He used to hate Jay-Z. He hated Jay-Z enough when he was trying to get Ja Rule to go at Jay-Z. This is back in the early 2000s. And one day, Asner, Kushner, Diddy and myself went to a Nets game and we met Jay-Z. I've never been a Jay-Z fan, you know, like some of his music, the whole 9 yards. But when we went over to the, I think that was Prudential Center in Newark, and him and Puff met up, it was strange to me. Because I remember what Puff was trying to do. And then both of them, they was talking about something amongst each other, amongst all of us, and laughing and joking with each other. Then over the years, I see them giving garden parties. You understand what I'm saying? you could tell that the people in power had gave that ring to Diddy, and Jay was next in line. So to separate him, when in fact they may be two of the same, but because Jay-Z is low key, that low key sneaky shit, and Diddy is and was rambunctious, just out with it. It don't mean that they're not two of the same.
Nothing has been proven yet, but people are talking since things like this usually don't surface without a reason. Many believe the two have similar personalities.
Will come when we will name names other than Sean Combs, and there's a lot of names. It's a long list already. And of course, I already know who some of these individuals are, but because of the nature of this case, we're going to make damn sure that we're right before we do that. But the names that we're going to name, assuming that our investigators confirm and corroborate what we've been told, are names that will shock.
The leaked information is serious, and it reportedly suggests that Jay-Z might have had some involvement. Again, it's all alleged, but it's raised a lot of questions. There were always hints that others would be named in the case as well.
On top of that, these two were connected to Aaliyah and R. Kelly, who were married when Aaliyah was only 15. Dame Dash, who co-founded Rockefeller Records with Jay-Z and dated Aaliyah when she was actually of age, said he thought it was morally wrong for Jay-Z to do a collab album with R. Kelly when he did. Dame said, "It's morally wrong to do a project with someone that we know raped my girl or anybody for that matter." He also said Jay-Z tried getting with Aaliyah too.
I guess Jay was trying to get at her as well, and I didn't know. And then she, it got brought up, and I was like, "Fuck we are," but it never worked out for them, and we were both trying to get at her. I kind of eased up, but then we ran into each other. It's a long story.
So you and Jay was both getting at Aaliyah. Obviously,
everybody was getting at Aaliyah, bro.
Right.
So there undoubtedly was some shady stuff going down in their circle, as both Diddy and R. Kelly were friends with Jay, and it's possible Jay knew some of the stuff that was going down. By 2007, Jay-Z and Diddy had been friends for a while, and at a performance at Screamfest, Diddy could be seen smacking Jay's butt a couple of times. Now, I personally don't think this holds that much weight in these theories like some other people do. Lots of friends tend to joke with each other like this, but to be fair, Diddy has been a little bit liberal in some of his jokes. However, 50 Cent took this as an opportunity, as he always does, to clown on the two. It's hard to say how good of friends Diddy and Jay-Z are, but they have been seen together hanging out over the years plenty, so it's safe to assume they are at the very least well acquainted. That's why when all of this news began coming out against Diddy lately, people pointed out how quiet Jay-Z was. Also, if you're unaware of what happened with Diddy somehow, I made a whole video on it, so you guys can check that out if you want to. But basically, Diddy was caught racketeering, essaying multiple people, and things along those lines. He was indicted and actually has over 100 lawsuits against him. So Jay-Z's silence on this matter has had a lot of people looking at him sideways. 50 Cent even made a joke about it, as he always does, on his Instagram saying, "Anybody seen Jay?" Puff said he ain't been answering his phone. He's commented more in interviews saying that people who aren't talking about it are probably scared because they were involved.
Now people are wondering whether Beyoncé and Jay-Z knew about Diddy's relationships and what was really happening behind the scenes. Some sources claim they might have known more than they admitted. Allegedly, they were seen with Diddy at private parties and events over the years, and some say they were close friends. But just being around doesn't necessarily mean they knew everything.
Alice Austin, this well-known music producer who dated Combs' ex Kim Porter, Britney Spears, of course, one of the most well-known pop stars of all time. To hear them there, Mina, that's not a surprise to you, right?
No, this is the lifestyle that Diddy lived. He had parties. A-listers were at his parties. He was very well known. He had money. There's a charisma to him. He's the life of the party, right? He attracts people to him. We talked about this on the network. You don't become this larger than life mogul by not having some kind of charisma to you, people skills. So people of A-list stature were constantly around, and we're learning from the trial that they witnessed the But from what we're hearing, and to your point, they weren't necessarily a part of the sexual part of these parties, which is the freak-offs that lasted, some of them, up to 4 days, according to Cassie's testimony. What artist in their prime has 4 days to be locked up in a hotel, participating in a freak-off? Certainly not Britney Spears, I'll tell you that. So it's one of those things where he was around a lot of artists, a lot of A-listers and celebrities, but a lot of them, from what I suspect, were not a part of these freak-offs. They might have maybe been aware of them or heard about them, but in terms of participation, we haven't seen one celebrity say, I've participated in a freak-off. I don't think we're ever going to hear that if they in fact did, to be honest.
And here's the thing, we don't know the witness list. Like, the witness list is sealed, so we don't know exactly who's going to testify. But when you mention the celebrities, when we're talking about Dallas Austin, Britney Spears, and the people that are around them, I wonder if this goes to a legal point. You mentioned Cassie, so she's signed to Bad Boy Records, 19 years old. She had the hit single Me and You, 2006. She says she had a contract to do multiple albums, that Combs was in control of her career, her public image, her finances. And if you're thinking about sex and you're thinking about control and power and using force, fraud, coercion to induce somebody to do these things, to have celebrities around, right? Celebrities, you would think, oh my gosh, at such a young age, the connections I can make, stick with me, I can help you go places. Do you think this helps the prosecution's case the more they talk about the celebrities that was in his orbit?
Apparently, additional information could emerge soon, so everyone is watching closely, with several more famous figures publicly anticipated to be named in the upcoming courtroom proceedings.
A series of shocking pics released by the Department of Justice halfway through week 2 of Sean Diddy Combs' trial for sex trafficking and racketeering, charges he denies.
Even the judge has made mention of not wanting this to be a case sort of built on gossip, but really making sure that these jurors are hearing the meat and potatoes of what we're here for. And that's the criminal enterprise, racketeering, sex trafficking, and making sure that we're hearing information that somehow lead to all of those things.
All of this was uncovered during that raid on Diddy's Miami compound back in 2024. Firearms and ammo, bondage kits, sex toys, male performance enhancers, a plethora of stripper heels, an alarming amount of baby oil and lube, and all allegedly used in Diddy's so-called freak-offs.
A personal assistant, a former personal assistant of Sean Combs from 2007 to 2009, wrapped up his testimony today. And part of what he described is seeing Sean Combs, he says, frequently using because of these freak-offs. The personal assistant, sometimes he said he had to get supplies for the hotel. He said oftentimes the hotel would be under Sean Combs' alias, Frank Black, and that he had to provide underwear, clothing, applesauce, Jell-O, Fiji water. These were things that were expected to be in the room that Combs was used to having, that his personal assistant said he would provide. Also interesting to note, he said early on he would expense some of those things, the Jell-O and the Fiji water and things, on the Bad Boy account. But he said when it came to the Astroglide, the condoms, and things of that nature, he would get reimbursed in cash, almost as if there was no record of those types of things. And more specifically, when it came to the Astroglide, the condoms, and baby oil, he said he would be reimbursed in cash. I think so much of what came out of that civil lawsuit and these freak-offs and this idea that, again, Cassie Ventura saying she was forced into these situations and that she really didn't want to partake in them, even in her closing statement Friday saying, I would give the $20 million back if it meant I never had to take part in a freak-off. This is how she ended her testimony. So it is a big part of the case in reference to this notion that she was forced into it. And remember, the criminal enterprise and the racketeering, according to that indictment, is about him using force and threats and arson and all of these things, they said, for his sexual desires. So that's why I think a lot of what we're hearing are these details from escorts, from people who not just people that were taking part.
In the second week of Sean Diddy Combs' federal trial in Manhattan, the courtroom has been filled with intense testimonies and troubling claims. The case, focused on charges of racketeering and conspiracy, has brought forward key witnesses who are revealing alleged misconduct spanning over 20 years, with more evidence now emerging related to his so-called gatherings.
He testified that this happened. his dog watcher called to tell him that his Porsche was on fire. The jury, well, they saw these images. And Cuddy said it looked like the top had been cut open and a Molotov cocktail was dropped inside. The prosecutor asked, "What was your reaction to your car being set on fire?" Cuddy said, "What the F?" Now, he testified he met with Diddy at a members-only club the next day. He walked into the room, Diddy was alone, and he said he saw this. It was one wall was all windows, and Sean Combs was standing there staring out the window with his hands behind his back like a Marvel supervillain. They ended up talking about Cuddy's relationship with Cassie and how neither of them seemed to know that the other was actually dating her at the same time. Diddy denied any involvement in blowing up his car or setting it on flame. Now, the witness called after Kid Cudi is someone I've actually spoken with on this very show.
Cudi didn't hold back in court. He told the jury that he believed Diddy was behind the attack. The two weren't on good terms at the time because Cudi had been briefly involved with Cassie Ventura, Diddy's girlfriend at the time. Cudi claimed that things got weird after that. Allegedly, Diddy broke into his home, messed with his security system, and acted like nothing had happened afterward.
Day 9 was a wild one in the criminal case against Sean Combs. The prosecution called rapper Kid Cudi to the stand, and he said Diddy was like some sort of Marvel supervillain when they finally came face to face. In just a moment, my legal experts and court insiders will break down what he and 4 other witnesses told the jury today alone, and if any of it is advancing the prosecution's racketeering case. The big bombshells? Kid Cudi said that he believes Diddy broke into his Hollywood home and was behind the torching of his Porsche after finding out that Cudi was dating Cassie Ventura. A makeup artist who worked for Diddy and Cassie testified that she saw signs of abuse and let Cassie stay in her own home after one violent encounter. And the manager of a hotel in Beverly Hills revealed records showing Diddy routinely trashed his hotel rooms. Now, about that Kid Cudi testimony, it was fiery. Figuratively and, of course, literally. He told the court that he started dating Cassie around 2011, and in December of that year, Cassie told him Diddy had found out about us. The same day, he said that he got a call from a Diddy employee who told him that Diddy was at his house. So Cudi, he went home, and he called Diddy on the way. He said it went something like this. I said, MFer, you in my house? And he was like, what's up? I was like, MF, are you in my house? And he said, I just want to talk to you. I was like, I'm on my way over right now. He was like, I'm here. Now, when Cudi got home, no one actually was there. But he said security cameras had been moved, angled away from where they were originally pointed before he left his home. Gifts from Chanel that he had for his family on the kitchen counter, they had been opened. And his dog, who normally roamed free around the house, was suddenly locked in the bathroom.
When Cudi confronted him, Diddy denied everything. But later, according to Cudi, he apologized, which only made Cudi feel more confused and shaken. He said he never went public about it before because he was scared.
All right, let's jump the map now to New York, where rapper Kid Cudi, whose legal name is Scott Nascuti, just finished testifying in the sex trial of Sean Diddy Combs. CBS News legal reporter Katrina Kaufman reports from outside that courthouse on what he told the jurors about his relationship with Combs and his ex-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura.
Rapper Kid Cudi testified today about 2 incidents that he alleges involved Sean Combs. One was a break-in that happened at his house. This was right after Cassie Ventura said that Combs had found out she and Kid Cudi were seeing each other. There was later an incident where his car caught on fire. A Molotov cocktail was thrown into his Porsche. Combs has denied taking part in that incident, but Kid Cudi said that at the time he realized that they needed to talk. He had ended his relationship with Cassie Ventura, but they all met at the Soho house, made amends. Cudi asked him about the car at the time, and Combs denied knowing anything about it. But Kid Cudi did say that years later, Combs apologized to him. We also heard from a former personal assistant of Combs, George Kaplan, who did not want to take the stand today. He made that clear to the jury. He said that he likes Combs and only came because he was subpoenaed. But he left his employment with Combs Enterprise after seeing a couple violent incidents, one involving Cassie Ventura on Combs' private jet, and another where he said Combs was throwing green apples at another girlfriend, Gina. He said that he just didn't feel that he could be around this type of violence and decided that was the last straw, and he had to leave a job that at the time he said was the most incredible experience he'd ever had. We're also hearing from a former makeup artist to Sean Combs and Cassie Ventura today, who has also publicly said that she witnessed Combs Ventura. Back to you.
One of the most shocking and emotional moments of the week came from Grammy-winning rapper Kid Cudi. He took the stand to describe a terrifying incident from 2012. According to Kid Cudi, someone cut into the convertible top of his Porsche 911 and threw a Molotov cocktail inside, setting the car on fire. Although no one was injured, the event left a deep emotional impact on him.
And Combs said, "I don't know what you're talking about." Jurors saw the actual cut, the hole in his Porsche, and then they saw the damage done from that Molotov cocktail where the red interior is ruined and it's black and smoky. So the jurors got a real clear picture of what the aftermath looked like from that Molotov cocktail. I think because Kid Cudi played such a big role when you think about that potential arson, which was listed in that civil lawsuit, again, going back to the one that Cassie filed. It seemed like Cudi came in here ready to go. He got out of his car smoking a cigarette. He walked in, focused on that stand. Sean Combs was definitely paying attention, but I really noticed him looking back as Kid Cudi was walking in to sort of see him. And I guess they haven't seen each other in a few years based on Cudi's testimony. But yeah, it's always interesting to see these two people. Same industry. Someone that Kid Cudi says, he respected and, they were friends at one point. And that was part of the conversation that he said they had at the Soho House. Like, you knew that Cassie was my girl. Why would you do that? And his thing was, well, it was my understanding you guys had broken up. So he didn't.
When Kid Cudi confronted Diddy, he denied all accusations. However, according to Kid Cudi, Diddy later apologized, which only left him feeling more confused and unsettled. Kid Cudi explained that he never spoke about the incident publicly before because he was afraid.
In the end, he said the conversation went well. They talked about the fact that Cassie Ventura was going back to Combs. And at one point, the defense said, so basically she played you. Another moment where everyone's like, oh my, this is getting interesting.
His answer to that one?
Yes, basically. So Ventura decides to go back with Combs. Cudi says, you know what, I want bygones to be bygones. But he mentioned that he wanted it to end because he felt like things were going too far. And he was concerned, he said, not only about his own safety, but Ventura's safety. At the end of that meeting at the Soho House, Kid Cudi described shaking Combs' hand.
Watching him speak in court, it was clear the experience still haunted him. He explained that the bombing wasn't just about the car. It was about power, control, and sending a message. Diddy denied any involvement with the attack on his car.
A former assistant to Sean Diddy Combs was on the stand earlier today in the music producer's sex trial. Reporter Michelle Ross is live in New York City. And Michelle, tell us about those highlights in court yet again today.
Caroline Rashi, taking up most of today's testimony was a clinical and forensic psychologist named Dr. Dawn Hughes. And she testified as to why people stay in abusive relationships. Dr. Hughes also revealed how much she makes. She's paid $600 per hour for her work, and for one day of testimony, $6,000. She testified in other high-profile cases, like the defamation trial with Amber Heard and Johnny Depp, singer R. Kelly, and NXIVM founder Keith Raniere. She dug into four main topics today: why people stay in these types of relationships, how they cope, how and when they reveal what happened to them, and memory. She explained that abusive relationships do have love, and trauma bonding can make it harder to leave, and taking illegal substances can numb the pain of it all. Now, the last witness to take the stand was George Kaplan, a former assistant to Sean Combs, who says one of his responsibilities was to set up Diddy's hotel rooms. The first time he unpacked his bag, he said he found baby oil, Astroglide, candles, and liquor. The other times, he'd have to buy the items on his corporate card. He also had to make sure the rooms were in polished shape before checkout to protect Diddy's image, and often threw out empty baby oil bottles and once threw out a powdery crystal substance. And he said he was instructed by Diddy to pick up 2 times. Both times, he testified, Diddy gave him cash to pay for it and gave him a number to call someone to pick it up. Now, tomorrow we'll continue with his testimony, with George Kaplan's testimony, but after Kaplan, we expect to see rapper Kid Cudi on the stand. Now, Kid Cudi briefly dated Cassie Ventura, and we expect also to hear testimony and allegations that Diddy firebombed his car after finding out that the two were dating. We're live in Lower Manhattan. Michelle Ross, Fox 26 Houston.
All right, Michelle, thank you for that live report there.
Kaplan admitted to quitting his job due to guilt and discomfort over witnessing these episodes and being asked to help Ventura conceal her bruises.
That cross of George Kaplan, that's getting underway, Julie. And what they're talking about there is he was just so excited to start working for Sean Combs. And so he would start to see all of these things take place. He was on direct describing an incident on a private plane between Sean and Cassie, in which he described Sean as holding up like a rocks glass, and heard Cassie then say, isn't someone seeing this? Talking about a beating that was taking place right there in the moment. Now, George eventually left because he said he was tired of hiding the domestic violence from everyone. So he's a former executive assistant to Combs, and he testified that he witnessed Combs be violent with Ventura while on that private jet in 2015. He did hear that glass break and saw Combs standing over Ventura. He told the jury that Ventura did scream, isn't anyone seeing this? So that's been some of the testimony. He has testified to several incidents of domestic violence that he saw at the hands of Sean Combs toward Cassie, and then also a name we've heard in this case, Gina. Julie, when Cassie was on the stand, as well as one of her friends, that was Carrie Morgan, she was saying that Gina was a real problem. George Kaplan was talking about some domestic violence that he witnessed toward Gina as well, a time when Sean was throwing apples really hard at Gina, and Gina was covering her face.
Oh my goodness. It gets worse every day, Kelly. I tell you what, this testimony, it is bad. And as you know, domestic violence and sex are not mutually exclusive things here, that one can be part of the other. And so all very key testimony that you're sharing.
Cassie Ventura, a key figure in the trial, has accused Combs of various forms of abuse during their 11-year relationship. She testified that Combs reacted violently when he found out about her relationship with Kid Cudi.
On right now, Law and Crimes reporter Elizabeth Milner, who is inside that courtroom. We have limited time with Elizabeth. I know she has to jump right back in there. Elizabeth, good to see you. Talk to us about the day, how it started with the continuation of the testimony of this special agent from Homeland Security that was part of the raids that were conducted on Sean Combs' property, and what evidence was found, or potential evidence. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, this testimony is something I myself have been very interested in. And this is no offense to all the witnesses that have been testifying, but I really just wanted to see the physical evidence and see especially what was found in those raids. And so Homeland Security Investigation Special Agent Jared Gammon, he took the stand actually yesterday afternoon, and he at first kind of started going over some of the exhibits, especially what was found in the Miami home, and that's the home on Two Star Island, So they didn't talk about the LA homes or anything like that as far as what was found in that particular home. Really was just focusing on the Miami estate, essentially, because it's a huge property. And so we found out yesterday that 80 to 90 officers were involved in this search, and a lot of the stuff from today was a little just kind of continuation about everything that was found. So we saw a lot of exhibit photos, and I took, Jesse, a lot of notes, because at this point it was just so many exhibits back to back to back to back that you just were so overwhelmed by everything that was found, essentially. And so we learned yesterday that there were AR-15s inside the Miami property with the scratched off serial numbers. We saw that there were platform high heels that were 7 inches tall inside this Miami home. There were sex items inside this home found in the primary bedroom closet. There were then we got a close up of the red high heels and the the sex toys, and then these high heels were actually displayed in front of the jury. So Special Agent Gannon, he just took up the heels, kind of showed them to the jury, then put them back into the evidence box, and then kind of had it with the rest.
The defense argued that Cassie played Kid Cutie. They said the conversation between them went well, discussing Cassie Ventura returning to Combs. At one point, the defense remarked, "So basically she played you," which caught everyone's attention. Kid Cutie agreed, saying yes, basically. Ventura decided to go back to Combs, and Kid Cutie wanted to leave the past behind but expressed concern about how far things were going, worrying about both his and Ventura's safety. At the end of that meeting at Soho House, Kid Cutie described shaking Combs' hand.
The federal sex trial against Sean Diddy Combs has moved into its 7th day of testimony. Today, the former personal assistant to Mr. Combs, David James, returned to the stand. Jurors also heard from the mother of singer Cassie Ventura, Combs' ex-girlfriend. Combs has been charged with sex trafficking, racketeering, conspiracy, and transportation to engage in prostitution. He has pleaded not guilty to all of those charges. NBC News entertainment correspondent Chloe Malas is outside of the courthouse in New York City. Chloe, walk us through what has happened in court so far today.
Yeah, so Ellison, you talked about David James. He is somebody who worked for 2 years for Combs as a personal assistant, and he really pulled back the curtain on what it's like to work for someone like Combs. He said that sometimes his days would be 20 hours at a time, and he would work 21 days in succession with no breaks. And he talked about how he knew that he was signing up for a tough job, but he also talked about how Combs allegedly had him procure drugs like ecstasy that would also have him get prescriptions under his own name, like Percocet for him, and that he would set up hotel rooms for these freak-offs. So this is really going towards the charge of racketeering conspiracy. Remember, the government says that Combs was running his businesses and carrying out illegal activity and using assistants, security guards, and other individuals that work for him to carry out that illegal activity. So he's one of many individuals that previously worked for Combs that we're going to be hearing from. And like you said, who else did we hear from today? We finally heard from Cassie Ventura's mother. It was very brief on the stand, but she talked about taking photos of her daughter in 2011 when she came home to Connecticut for the Christmas holidays, and that she was shocked to see the bruises on her daughter's body, that she hadn't been aware that her daughter's relationship with Combs had been violent at this point, and that she took those photos to memorialize them. And thankfully for her, she did, because they showed those in court today to the jurors.
Chloe, explain for us how the prosecution plans to use these witnesses to build their case as it relates to the specific charges Diddy is facing here.
So remember, there are 5 charges, like I said, racketeering conspiracy. So that's where you get the individuals that worked for Combs, whether it was security, personal assistants, chief of staff. We're going to be hearing from a chef who once worked for Combs. Then you have the sex trafficking. So you have people like Cassie Ventura, you have her mother, you have individuals talking about coercion, force, feeling that there was so much violence in the relationship for some of these women that they couldn't leave. So therefore they were forced to participate in these freak-offs with male escorts. And that goes to the sex trafficking charge. And remember, if convicted on all, he faces up to life in prison.
All right. NBC's Chloe Malas, thank you.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.
Ventura also claimed that Combs threatened to release compromising videos to control her and pressured her into participating in so-called freak-off acts by threatening to expose her.